Yo, what is going on? Your correspondent, John Ross Marcus Cox, coming at you today here to discuss last night's, what I'm supposing will be the final gubernatorial debate here in Kentucky, hosted by fellow Middlesborian Matt Jones at Kentucky Sports Radio. And I've had some people send me a message today asking me my thoughts on it, and just overall reactions, who I'm considering voting for, all that good stuff. So figured I'd give you all at least my 2 cents on the overall situation. Again, please like, subscribe, comment on this video, share this video. You can find me on YouTube or Rumble as far as video podcasts go, and then basically any audio platform: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, yada all that good stuff. So make sure you go check me out on there. So last night, Alan Keck, the mayor from Somerset, Ryan Quarles, our Kentucky's current agricultural commissioner, Kelly Craft, who is Donald Trump's previous advisor or ambassador to the UN, and Mike Harmon, who served, I think, 12 years in our state legislature, and then has been our auditor or something now in the state of Kentucky. All came together for a debate with Matt Jones, and I actually said I think Matt's doing great work. I mean, he's definitely a Democrat. I think he's more of a Kentucky Democrat 20 years ago than he is a Democrat of 2023. But I don't think he sees it that way. But I think he tries real effing hard to be fair in those situations, and he's trying to he knows his listener base. He knows that he wasn't trying to alienate anybody, or I think he legitimately saw that there was no better way to get out. There was no other person better set for the reach, to give these candidates the reach that he was able to, and honestly may have hurt Bashir's chance of re-election by doing the debate. But I just think that he legitimately believes that discussions in public square matter. So kudos to Matt for doing that. So this morning I had a couple people that messaged me and said, asked me what I thought and what my thoughts are on the race, that kind of thing. And I'm gonna be 100% honest when I say this. Like, when it comes to our governor race, mostly I'm kind of like just meh. I mean, like, none of these people really excite me, if I'm being honest. I think several of them are real good people. Like, I've met Quarles now several times. I have several friends that know Quarles well, and I know he's been working his behind off, getting around to all the, into all the rural counties and campaigning and all that good stuff. Seen him at several Lincoln Day dinners, all that. Same goes for Harmon. I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me Mike Harmon's like salt of the earth type dude. Alan Keck seems to be very energetic, full of ideas, and actually is put in the work to think about what where he stands on issues. And then obviously Kraft's definitely got the most war chest, most money there to be able to put forth a winning campaign against Governor Bashir. And then we have Daniel Cameron, who wasn't there last night. And I'm going to be honest, I'm at a whole lot of political events. I mean, a lot of them. And the one that I see the least, actually, I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen him at a thing I've been at. I never shook the dude's hand. Every single one of these other ones have been at multiple events I've been to. I've shook hands with them. I've spoke to them. We probably recognize each other's faces now. I think that's important because, again, if there's one glaring, warning sign or red flag when it comes to Daniel Cameron, in my opinion, it's the ties to big R Republicans. And this whole idea that you're above the rank and file. That you're above that, getting out and shaking hands and meeting people and that he's just resting on his laurels with the McConnell machine, and that's not me digging out. I don't know, because I don't know. I don't know the dude. Never gotten a chance to get to know him. These other ones, I will say this: when it comes to Kraft, I do know her running mate Max Wise fairly well. Worked with him, and if you'd asked me this last session, I'd have told you he was a problem. But after this one, it's he's definitely a good politician. Definitely knows how to talk to people, and so but from at least my interactions with him, he seemed to be more honest with me than not, But like I said, I'm not, there's people out there that have much longer histories and much more experience dealing with him, specifically. But I don't have any quarrels with him as far as my own personal interactions with him go. But several things came up during the debate, and it's I'm going to kind of lead with this one since it's 420. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to the fact that it is 420 date is the day that we're supposed to talk about marijuana. So let's just go ahead and jump off talking about that. And so medical marijuana was obviously something that came up during the debate, and the only person really that had anything, in my opinion, to say about it was Alan Keck. And he, his main thing was just cracking down on big pharma. And what I'm about to say, it doesn't have as much to do with the debate last night, but it does, because none of them, I don't know that any of these people that are running really understand the context of how all these issues affect the average Kentucky person and what's going on in the legislature and all that. Okay, so in my opinion, this as far as medical marijuana goes, I don't necessarily know. I don't have a problem with people using medical marijuana. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think there's definitely plenty of science or evidence out there to show that it's helping people with PTSD and all kinds of all that stuff. But I do think that it isn't sincere. I'm gonna try to pull up see if I can find. I had a chart to show you guys on what it looks like across the country here. I'm pulling it up right now. So I'm gonna show you a photo of states across the country that have weed legalized, whether it be medical marijuana or just straight up recreational use. Give me a second here to get to pull up. I don't know why it won't pull up for me. Well, I'll get to pull up eventually. And so, but to me, that's the biggest thing about it is my problem with medical marijuana is this: it's only going to enrich big pharma more. So I think that the big pharmaceutical companies see another cash cow, one that hasn't even been begun to be tapped into yet, and they're fighting against this rare instance where you have like the Christian conservative right and like the big business Democrats fighting together to suppress an industry because they want big pharma to be able to make all the money off of it. And so here's the question I like to pose, and it's just happened in Louisville here. Which is my child, one of my children, let's say my 3-year-old, for instance, more likely to accidentally abuse? Going to a friend's house, seeing some weed gummies laying on the coffee table and picking one up and munching on it, which are crazy potent. Okay, it's not like they dial these things back. I mean, some of these gummies are they get you high, if you know what I'm saying. Most of us don't know what I'm saying, but okay, but are they more likely to pick up a little gummy bear or pick up a blunt, sit in an ashtray and smoke it or eat it? I mean, even my 3-year-old son, as dumb as a 3-year-old is, ain't gonna pick up a blunt and start munching on it or grab a blunt and a lighter and know how to smoke it and inhale it. Okay, so there's that. Then there's also just the thing, and this is where someone like Alan Keck, I would expect him to come at it from this angle And I don't think we have to legalize recreational marijuana in order to decriminalize it. Okay, I'm fine with locking up people selling it in large quantities, trafficking it. But I do think there's an argument out there to be had to decriminalize it to where like every black dude who gets pulled over in the West End or in Appalachia with a joint in his glove compartment catching a charge and being a felon. You know, and that's the conversation I don't hear anybody talking about. We keep talking about like the hopelessness of East Kentucky, the hopelessness of the hood up here in Louisville, but we're not talking about the causes of it, whether it be cultural or social or whatever. But the illegality of marijuana possession certainly is not helping those problems. And I don't think there's any way to stomp it out. And the libertarian me doesn't really care. Okay? Again, lock up the drug dealers, but homeboy can't be catching a charge every time he gets pulled over because he's got a tail light out, and you find a joint, or a dime bag in his glove compartment. Now he's a felon, can't get a job. He's got kids, now he can't pay child support. Now he's in the deadbeat daddy section in the newspaper. Yada yada. Right, but it's like I don't hear that conversation going on with anybody. It's just like, are you in agreement? Or it seems very vanilla. Like it's just this is a topic where somebody can have some flair, and they're not. They're just being average Joe, and it's like that ain't gonna win here. You got to differentiate yourself. Okay, so that was one of the issues. Some other stuff that came up. For instance, let's talk about sports betting, sports gaming. I mean, this is another one where a candidate could have used this as a way to differentiate themselves. And, I mean, the responses were pretty, it was like they were trying to get through the question as quick as they could. I think someone talked about how it does impact the poor the most, and I think that's, sports betting, gray machines, all that, lottery. They all do affect the poor the most, and if there's any one argument against any of it being illegal, it's that. Okay, because listen, that's why I don't like the lottery because of that. Especially when you use the lottery to fund things like Keys money and education, because then you basically need more and more people, or at least more and more monies to be spent on those things. So it's like a vice tax. You're using a vice tax to fund non-vice spending. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, but here's where I think someone missed the biggest way they could have differentiated themselves in this Republican primary. Sports gaming and gray machines really offer a candidate a great opportunity to say, I am not a big R country club establishment type Republican. Okay, you can be for sports gaming and still be against the bill that just passed, HB 557. Because as of right now in Kentucky, everybody thinks it's legal, okay? But it's only legal at horse tracks, Northern Kentucky Speedway, and online, okay? So, basically, you already have to be an established business in Kentucky. You got to be Churchill Downs, Keeneland, Northern Kentucky Speedway, which I guarantee is probably controlled by same people that own Churchill. I don't know for sure, but I bet they're the same. They're the same parties. Let's put it like that. Okay, if I was a candidate, I'd have been like, if we're going, let's say sports betting is already a foregone conclusion. It will not only be allowed by the people that are already in the elite class. For those that don't know, we have a huge unemployment crisis and job crisis in places like Eastern Kentucky. How about let's give a redneck a chance to maybe start a business here. Maybe they can build an app for sports betting. Maybe they want to start a little sport. Maybe they don't want to be a bookie and be illegal. They want to start a sports betting business. Nope, gotta be Churchill Downs. Same goes for these gray machines. So HB 594 this past session, and if I was a candidate, I would know this and I would be talking about it. Okay, they just banned what's called a gray machine, which is basically what these slot type machines that you'd see in the back of a 7-Eleven or down at the down at your local bar, down at your little dive bar or whatever. They banned those. But you know what they didn't ban? What they call historical horse racing, which is the same stinking thing, but it's at Churchill Downs. But it's at Keeneland. So, I mean, sports gaming and the banning of gray machines, the main purpose they served was they used public sentiment as a way to enrich the already enriched. Taking money out of the little 7-Eleven owners' hands, local mom and pop, dive bar. Now you can't have these anymore. Churchill still gets to have them. Tell me how that's okay. And then I would have intertwined that with HB5 and this tax carve out for the bourbon industry that got a tax exemption back in like 2011 solely because of this bourbon tax that was about to take effect. In a lot of rural counties, it was going to take away like $30 or $40 million from these counties. The only reason the bill got passed 10, 12 years ago is because they said they would pay this tax, and now they just got it repealed. So one of his big things he talked about was talking about how if you can work in Kentucky, you got to work. You got to get off your butt and work. What about those three bills just made it easier for somebody in East Kentucky or in the West End to get a job, to work? It made it easier for you to blow whatever money you're getting if you can get to Churchill. It's enriched big pharma to where if you're on disability now and you can go chase one of these medical ID cards to get your weed, you got something else you can spend that on. Spend your money on that. But if we didn't ban gray machines. We banned them for normal people. We're allowing the elites to continue doing it. Maybe if they weren't in limbo and people knew they could, okay, I could legitimately start a business based on these gray machines without having to worry about it getting shut down in a year because they're legal. Maybe a redneck would start some kind of business. Maybe it would have been a little trashy at first. But new industries are ugly at the start sometimes. Some girls don't like boys like me. Oh, but some girls do. You know what I'm saying? Something else that came up a ton was woke ideology in schools. Or at least they tried to make this come up a lot. But it became clear to me that everyone, Kelly Craft's talking about dismantling the Department of Education. And I'll give her credit for that. But I've seen nothing in her actions, because she hasn't really had a position to do this, that shows me that she's really got the cojones to totally dismantle the Department of Education. Her tone on the issue alone may be enough to sway my vote. I don't know. We'll see. But none of these people really, really are wanting to dig into this stuff. They're about as vanilla as it possibly can be on it. Yes, it's in schools. Yes, we want to stop it. But none of them are bringing up the fact that they think it's awesome that we just passed a bill saying that little boys can't use little girls' bathrooms, bringing up the fact that our U.S. House just passed a bill to say they couldn't either, or hammering Joe Biden for the fact that he's trying to circumvent the law through Title IX and make it to where you lose all this money, all this federal funding in schools if you don't allow boys to use the girls' bathrooms. And then Andy Beshear supports that. None of them are not saying that, but none of them are saying that. If you know what I'm saying. And I think here's why I think. I think it's because it's hard, like people, to dig into it. You got to be in the trenches in it. You got to be seeing it, firsthand. None of them brought up the ridiculousness of the fact that JCPS is suing social media companies, including TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I mean, I want everybody to think about to me, it's just lunacy. And I'm not saying I love these companies. Okay, but they should be going here and hammering school boards for saying they're suing these companies for contributing to the mental health crisis America's youth are facing. JCPS just filed a resolution that alleges these companies have designed their platforms to maximize the time youth spend using them and addict youth to their platforms, which in return has been harmful to the mental, behavioral, and emotional health of youth and is associated with increased rates of depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, eating disorders, and suicide. I would be hammering over this saying, what on God's green earth are you talking about? You shut down schools in JCPS 2 years. We should be suing them. They should all be getting impeached. But they're not talking about that. Okay, I think everybody looks to Florida and sees what DeSantis is doing and his approval ratings and all that. They see what Trump did and how he got elected. But none of them want to trust the process, okay, and trust that if they do the right thing and actually believe it. First of all, you got to believe it. If you're going to say the stuff Trump says or DeSantis says, you got to believe it. Or stuff I say, you got to believe it. But they seem to be agreeing with all. But when push comes to shove, and it comes to driving it home every single day and being stubborn about it, none of them want to do it. They all want to be nice guy. Listen, we already got Andy Beshear. He's the superest nice guy, the biggest goober on the planet. We need a tough, no-nonsense, governor who's going to play quarterback and going to set the tone. Because in my opinion, that's really what a governor is supposed to do. A governor's supposed to set the tone for the state. They don't enact laws. They don't pass legislation. They don't raise taxes. They don't lower taxes. They literally are the face of the state to get to tell you what is most important and to tell the legislature what to get their butts in gear to go do. Gun control came up. Gun control came up because this mass shooting that occurred in Louisville here a couple weeks back. And all of them, when they were asked if they support future gun restrictions, they all say no, but none of them were emphatically absolutely not. Just because there's people out here that are doing bad things doesn't mean we take away constitutional rights from the 99.999% of law-abiding citizens. Now there is one law here that I'm not even. I'm not even sure. So we have a law in Kentucky that states if a gun's confiscated in a crime or whatever, then it has to be sold at auction, and then the proceeds go back into the police fund. There's a whole lot of fighting going on around that state law. And I'm gonna be honest, unless the gun that's committing the crime that's confiscated from the perpetrator has another owner. If it's owned by the criminal, I don't care if you dismantle it and bury it. I don't care. But if somebody else owns it and they stole it, you got to give it back to the owner. It's stolen property, even if it is their parents. Okay, anybody who's got kids knows you can't keep your kids from getting everything. Okay, they could have brought up when it came to gun control. There's some states wanting to enact required gun control classes in K through 12 schools. I'm sure it was high schools or middle school or something, but I don't think it's they want sex ed in third grade classes. So why not put a gun ownership class in high schools? I don't see anything wrong with that. But you got to be controversial about something. We're not going to beat Andy Bashir by being milk toast. We're just not. He's about as milk toast as possible. I mean, I think my 9-year-old son could whoop him. I really do. I think that. His wife has bigger biceps than he does. He wears like the socks with the navy blue ring at the top, two rings at the top. That's who Andy Bashir is. So bottom line is this. None of the candidates, in my opinion, seem very interested at all in winning the culture war. And anybody listening to the show knows that, like, as far as Kentucky goes, the importance of this state in this United States of America, in the Union, we're the gateway of the West. We're one of the pioneer states. If we lose the culture war here, it is gone, brother. It's gone. He gone. So that's what I want to see from the governor, whoever I'm voting for as governor. Somebody who's out there, not just like DeSantis and being loud and punching back hard, but I want it to be somebody who looks Kentucky. I'm like very weird about this. I just want somebody who looks, sounds, talks, walks, breathes, sleeps Kentucky. And it's like, I don't really know what I mean by that. I just think some of those deals like the Supreme Court, like, when you see it. And I say, I don't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, one thing I'd hoped with Alan Cake was I was going to get this Eastern Kentucky swagger from a candidate. And I ain't saying he ain't got that, but again, like, I don't think he got that. I want somebody who's got a little, who enunciates a little less. Somebody who's just like loud and proud Kentucky. I don't care if you're from the hood or from the holler. It's once you be Kentucky. Kentucky's just as hood as it is holler. I'm just telling y'all. And I'm hoping to have some guests on here in the next week or so to get back to the original mission of this podcast when it first started a little over a year ago, bringing communities together, and specifically African American and Appalachian, white American together, and sometimes black and white, both Appalachian, whatever. But just bringing communities together and talking about and showing you how we're not that different. But, I don't hear conversations being talked about, like in depth enough and with enough passion to make me think any of these dudes is going to get out there and really fight. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, if there's one thing our Republican legislature needs, it needs a general out there saying, like, yo, get out there and take care of the Department of Education. Get this bullshit out of our schools. We need a governor that's going to get up and say, like I've been saying all the time, don't just say you can't limit church attendance any more than Walmart. I want it in Kentucky law. I want it to say this: even if there is a black plague fountain in the congregation hall, you can still go to church. That's what I wanted to say in Kentucky law. I don't care if that's ridiculous. That's what Kentucky people feel. Black Kentuckians, white Kentuckians, poor ones, rich ones. Church is supposed to be untouchable. I want somebody to get up there and say, why aren't we talking about SB 115 that just didn't pass? This adult performance bill. I was going to say, if he's doing drag stuff and any of these other adult-oriented performances in any business, you are immediately an adult-oriented business. I don't care if you only have one a month as a coffee shop. Then you need to make that decision. Is that one drag queen story hour you're having bringing in enough business to where if you lose the other 99% of it, you can still operate? If the answer is no, then you need to cut it out. I want a governor willing to say that. And I'm just almost at the point where, like, If we're not going to get that, then this Bashir versus our Republican legislature, that feud and that like wanting to get one over on him, it's like in my heart of hearts, I feel like that's all that we're benefiting more from that clash than we are from, like what we're going to get, the apathy we're going to get from controlling all three branches of government. Well, I guess not all three branches, but both houses of our legislature and the executive branch. So I don't know. I told you I'd give you all my opinion on it, and that's about all I got. It's just about as bland and like uneventful, uninformative as possible. I mean, they all seem like pretty good people. I know Quarles and Harmon and Keck. I know for a fact they are. I've met them several times, and their people work hard. You know what I mean? Like, I know enough people that know Cameron that think Cameron's a really good guy, but again, like, I don't know. I try to base things off my own personal interactions with people, and I try to put in the work to get to have some personal interactions with people. I've never had any with him. But I know a lot of good people in the conservative movement, the grassroots movement, that think the world of Daniel Cameron, and so therefore I'm willing to give him credit for that. But push him to shove, I don't know that any of it really matters. I saw something today and that Bashir had a 63% approval rating. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like none of these other dudes and gals are giving anybody anything to really get behind. You got to get a redneck's blood pumping. If you wanted some black people from the hood to vote for you as a white Republican, you got to give them a reason. You got to be different. You got to shake stuff up. And I don't see any of these people doing that. That's just my assessment. Take it for what it is. So, all right. Well, listen. That's all I got for today. Just want to give you my little quick summary on the debate. Hopefully, I'll be back at y'all here next couple of days with another one. Appreciate y'all listening. Again, this is the Way Too Much JRMC podcast. And this is your humble correspondent, John Ross Marcus Cox. And thanks a lot.